Welcome to another edition of AM Chat. I am Tomisin, and it's a beautiful Tuesday morning. Today is a beautiful day, and if you look around you, I'm sure that a lot of people are still managing the traffic. You know, my guest just told me about how long it took to navigate just within Alausa. So it really is that bad. And you know, like I usually say, maybe time for you to consider leaving home at least 30 minutes earlier than you used to you know, ensure that you get to the office as early as possible. My name is Tomisin, and I'm the host for today's show. We'll be talking business today. We'll be looking into the business scene, and we'll be looking at every section of business. Today particularly, we're looking at investment and opportunities in the business sector. We're looking at today in history, November 13. What does November 13 stand for in the history of the world? Right now, the president is in Paris talking about the Peace Forum. The Peace Forum, you know, all over the world. Today is the day that most people would be thinking, you know, the Peace Forum just came to an end. If you're wondering what that is all about, is the centenary celebration of the World War I, and that's what it is. November 13, you know, across the world. I'm just trying to look at what exactly November 13 stands for across the world. It's the day you have a lot of things happening today. Maybe somebody's birthday out there, and apart from the fact that it's somebody's birthday, in history, the English king orders the killings of all the Danes in England. That's on November 13. World War II. You know, the aircraft carrier World War II HMS Ark Royal was toppled on the 13th of November. Looking at a few ones, I'm just looking at a few ones. There are lots of things that happened today. So today in history, in a referendum, voters in Sweden decided to join the European Union. In 2002, you have the oil spill. A storm burst a tank of oil tanker, which was not allowed to dock, you know, and sank. The tanker sank on the 19th of November. Okay, we have in 2015 a temporary satellite of Earth impacts just southeast of Sri Lanka. That's all on November 13th. And if you're looking at people who were born on November 13th, quite a number of them. Amongst them is Ranjit Singh, that's the Sikh emperor. Among them is a lot of people, quite a number of people. I'm just picking the very popular ones. Robert Stanley was also born, American actor, was also born on this day. And in recent times, we should look at people who are very, very close to us, very close to us. We have 1994 Andrew Tang, Singaporean race car driver. Okay, so quite a number of things have happened on November 13, and ultimately it says that every day is important, and so you must make the best of every day. Every day, make sure you do your best, make sure you put in your best, make sure you do all that you can. And if you're at work, it's a day to be productive, work smart, you know, do quite a number of things. Because today we're looking at business, so we're going to be looking at our general outlook to business, you know. My first guest is in the studio, and we're talking straight about investment opportunities in Nigeria's borrowing. You know, people have been talking about the external debt, internal debt, whatever it is. And I have some statistics here that I'd just like us to look at. Nigeria's debt profile is now at about $73.21 billion. That was what the Debt Management Office, you know, released. They said in 2017 we had to increase by 3%. That's 21.68 trillion naira. That was at December 2017. As at June the end of the second quarter of 2018, the money went to about 22.4 trillion naira. That's $73.21 billion. You know, all of these statistics we have, it's going to triple. They said the debt stock decreased by 1.44% from March, you know, to 22.7 billion and all that. So Nigeria is borrowing money, but people are asking the question, why are they borrowing? But we look at it this way: there are investment opportunities in this particular moment. You were looking at why is Nigeria borrowing all the money, but have you looked at what can I do? How can I take advantage of all of this money coming into the Nigerian system? I have with me a financial specialist, a financial expert in the studio this morning. His name is Emeka Agada. Mr. Emeka, welcome.
Thank you very much, Tomisin.
Thank you very much for coming. Okay, so looking at the government borrowing, start from the internal debt, the external debt and everything. There are investment opportunities in the sector, yes or no?
Well, exactly, yes.
Investment opportunities. So regardless of what the numbers are, we should look at the investment opportunities. Can we talk about that?
Okay, great. Thank you for bringing me to this show. And just like you've said, the numbers are out there. I mean, in the past few months, the issue of government borrowing has dominated the talks. And I mean, analysts, a lot of analysts have written lots of theses, and we've also had a lot of feedback from people like IMF, from organizations like IMF, and a lot of other people. But yeah, now, you know, what we are trying to say is beyond what we already know, because I'm not going to be talking about the numbers. You have already read out the stats.
We don't need the numbers. But we need the prospects.
Yeah, so we have already mentioned the numbers.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm trying to say is, by the time you take the headline numbers verbatim and we put it out there to the market, the ordinary man on the street might, as a matter of fact, start becoming a bit agitated when they hear about the big numbers. But let's bring it down to how does it concern us,
the average Nigerian.
Average Nigerian, the average investor, whether you're in Nigeria or not in Nigeria. Now, I'll start by saying this. Government borrowing, is it bad or good? The question is, the answer is, yeah, it is good. There are reasons why governments borrow.
Yeah.
Good. Now, the other part is, now, the government is borrowing. As an ordinary Nigerian, what should you be looking out for? Or what should you be positioning yourselves for? Because the government is going to borrow to fund the deficit. There are reasons why governments budget deficits. So, if the government has said they are going to borrow and the National Assembly has approved it, then the government is going to borrow. So what we are going to do is, let's look at how are we, ordinary Nigerians, ordinary investors, even if you're not an investor, how do you become an investor? Okay, so what is government borrowing for? The purpose is to achieve to spur an economic growth. And we also need to understand that economic growth does not immediately start at the same time when the government borrowing or government expenditure is happening. So the consequences of the increased government spending actually lags the actual time of that expenditure. Okay, so but as an individual, what are you supposed to do at this moment? First and foremost, you should look at where is the thrust of the government policy in terms of which areas of the economy is government particularly concerned about. Now, we know that government is looking at agriculture for food security. So what it means is that the government focus is on agriculture. So if you're an investor, then you should start looking at agribusiness, because the increased expenditure will in that sector will also, you know, boil down to increasing aggregate demand. And aggregate demand means that if you are in this business, the probability of your output being bought by the consumers is actually high. So there is investment opportunities in that agri sector. And then if you look at also at the power, you know that, look, there is a lot of investment opportunities today in the power sector. Let's just take, for example, the green energy revolution. I mean, the opportunity is there. So as an investor, you should also look at how you're going to invest in these businesses. But then I just want to go straight to in the government borrowing, both internal and external. How exactly can you benefit? Because let's not keep looking at the downside of the borrowing. Let's also look at the upside of the borrowing. Okay, so government is borrowing by way of one, issuing federal government bonds, and then secondly through treasury bills, and then thirdly through issuing Eurobond. Eurobond are borrowings in the global capital markets. Now all government instruments of debt are classified as risk-free. So risk-free means that you have a near 100% certainty that the money you give to the government today, that government is going to pay it to you on maturity date. Now juxtapose this with you're investing in a business, and then you're bringing in the probability of risk of not recovering the money you're investing in that business.
So you actually have more risk. So
yes, you actually have a risk element which you can only estimate. But on the other side, with the government, you know very well that the government will most likely
pay you back.
And this is a fixed income, meaning that you know from day one what the government is paying you for the money they have borrowed from you. So, and I'm going to give you examples. Now, FGN, federal government issued some Eurobonds. These Eurobonds are denominated in USD. The only hurdle for people in this country is that now you need to have USD to invest in the Eurobond. You cannot go to the official market to buy this USD to invest in the Eurobond. So that's a hurdle. But if you have your own USD, or you can access USD outside the official market, then you are free to invest in the Eurobond. And let's look at it. The Eurobond, being a risk-free investment, is bringing out yields of between 5 to 8%. Now, let's assume that without special promo, special product, you take this your USD and you go put it in a bank and say, look, I want you to give me, put it in a fixed deposit. What rate are they going to pay you? You know, without special promotion, we're looking at maybe 3%, 2%. But the federal government is borrowing from you, and they are promising that they're going to be paying you more than you're going to be getting by putting this money
in the bank,
or in the savings account. So that's about the Eurobond. So if you can't access USD, then you should lend money to federal government if you have the free cash flow available to lend. Okay, let's take, for example, also I'll give you a very great experience. Federal government did Sukuk, sovereign Sukuk bond. Do you remember when it was launched? Now, sovereign Sukuk bond was meant for infrastructural development, particularly roads. So federal government actually identified the infrastructure they are going to be investing in the Sukuk bond. And then federal government said, look, we're going to be paying you 16.5 or thereabout.
Interest rate?
Interest, or it's called coupon rate on this borrowing. So tell me, if you have a risk-free, this is a risk-free, it's not a promissory note.
Exactly.
Good. So government is saying, give us money, we will pay you this interest. So as an investor,
period.
At the end of the period, and you see some of these federal government borrowings, the ticket sizes are like 10,000 naira, a minimum.
Really?
So if you give federal government money, you are also going to be making money. So that's why I'm trying to say that, look, let's not look at only the hard issues. Let's look at the soft issues. You know. Okay, I'll give you another example. Federal government every month issues what is called the savings bond, federal government savings bond. A lot of people don't understand what the savings bond is about. A lot of people don't know what the federal government is actually promising, the value the federal government is actually giving to the people who are classified as ordinary Nigerians. Now, if you take 5,000 naira and you invest in the federal government savings bond, federal government is promising to pay you, not just promising, they are committing, they are guaranteeing that they will pay you around 10.5% for 2 years, and around 11.5, 11.25 or whatever for 3 years, while the savings rate,
the current savings rate in our commercial banks,
it's 4%. And now the federal government is saying, just with 5,000 naira, we're going to pay you this. So if you're or somebody who is looking at growing the wealth or the value of what you have, and you are, let's say, you are not classified as a high net worth individual, the government is saying that every month you can save with us 5,000 naira.
And we will actually pay you.
And we will pay you, and it's fixed. We can't change what we are going to pay you. So we will pay you this money.
And it's not as if there's going to be deductions.
There is no deduction. As a matter of fact, let me tell you, all those debt instruments are actually withholding tax exempted.
Okay.
They are withholding tax exempted. So it's a lot of value looking at the other side of the government borrowing. Now, the internal borrowing also includes our treasury bills. You know, if you take a look at what is going on in that treasury bill space, you see that the yield has been going up, and people are getting between 10 to 13.5%.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah. So because the government is borrowing. So if you have the money, you should also take the advantage that the government is giving you. Lend to the government and let them pay you the money.
Because you're sure that your money is going to come back.
Yeah, you're sure that the money is going to come back.
Regardless of what happens.
Regardless of what happens, your money is going to come back. And of course, let's look at it this way. We're coming from a recession, and we have exited the recession. And it is the responsibility of government to spur economic growth. And government is going to attempt to do this by increasing their expenditure. And increasing the expenditure also will invariably boil